Erev Shabbos Kodesh Parashat Emor, in which we are introduced to the family of Aaron and the teachings and studies of Aaron. Interesting midrash, which tells us about the funeral of Aaron, which took place a while after this parasha, and the midrash tells us that in attendance at his funeral were 80,000 children, 80,000 children. And they were all named Aharon. The Midrash calls them Aharonim. Aharonim is the plural of Aaron, or little Arnlach. And what were they doing there, and why were there so many children named Aaron during his lifetime? And the Midrash explains that the reason for this is because Aaron had a specialty, besides for being a Kohen and dealing with the sacrifices, he had a specialty in making shalom bayit. He helped families come back together. Families would have arguments, couples would have arguments, and each one would be irritated about how their spouse is not treating them well and is insensitive to their needs and doesn't speak nicely. So Aaron would speak to each one of the couples separately. And he would tell the wife, your husband feels so bad that he's insulted you and that he didn't speak to you nicely. She said, really? I didn't know that. Oh yeah, he's besides himself. And then he would speak to the husband and say, your wife feels so bad about the way she acted towards you. And he would say, I didn't know that. And she would say, yeah, that's what's going on. And because of this, they would both come together and their marriages would work. I'm sure there was a lot more to it, but their marriages would work. They would have children. And in appreciation of the work of Aaron, they would name their first child Aharon. And that's why there were 80,000 Aharonim at the funeral of Aaron. Think about that number, how many families he must have helped. 80,000. So the only problem with this midrash is that it wasn't true. Aaron would have had to lie in order to say that your wife feels terrible or your husband feels besides himself. It just simply wasn't true. They didn't have those feelings at all. And of course, the answer is that Aaron had some type of an overriding principle of peace. His brother Moshe was committed to truth. Aaron was also a very honest and truthful man, but that was what Moshe's pillar was in his world. He was the pillar of truth. Aaron was the pillar of peace. And in the pillar of peace, there was something that was even more compelling than the truth itself, a higher truth than the truth itself, and that's the truth of shalom, bringing two people together, whether it's shalom bayit or whether it's shalom between Jews in the community or peace in the world. That was the principle of Aaron. How should we act? Should we act like Aaron or should we act like Moshe? And here Hillel the elder tells us in Pirkei Avos, Hillel Amar Heve mitalmidav shel Aharon HaKohen. Be a student of Aaron. Be an Aaronian. And always let peace be a principle in your life. And whatever you do, think peace. And sometimes you have to compromise a little bit on exactly what happened, but for the sake of peace, let there be peace. And this is our prayer, that there should be peace in our communities, peace in our families, and peace in the world. Shabbat Shalom u'Mevarach.